back and one of the early pioneers?
I actually call it old media. It's old new media.
Old media. Yeah, I've got to stop using that term. I'm trying to use digital.
The early days of new media.
Right.
As you were too.
And currently is the founder of BookBrewer, but the preceding BookBrewer was a Night News Challenge winner called Printcasting, which Printcasting I guess kind of evolved into BookBrewer. And take it away. Apparently you're going to do some magic, and it'll be pretty
Yeah. So I'm just going to talk a little bit. I mean, at a higher level, I'm going to talk about. So actually, I should first say this is a really interesting conference. I believe in it deeply. I actually am an alum of the CU Journalism School, going now like 15 years back. And even though I'm now working in commercial business outside of journalism and nonprofit, I think it's really important to find ways to fund journalism. And as a citizen, I think it's really important. And I've been talking with Steve, who's actually an advisor of ours too, about this for a while, with ebooks, which is something that we really came out of our Knight grant, which I'll get into in a minute. I really see it as this great new opportunity for anybody who has content, but including journalists, to sell their content where people are actually buying it. And so that's really what I'm going to focus on today. High level of my background. Let's move this out of the way.
Yeah, actually, we can't see you on the screen.
Yeah, let's see what would be best.
Why don't we move the screen configuration?
Oh, I see. That's the camera. Got it. Okay.
Yeah,
So this is being broadcast. Okay.
Yeah, if maybe move back a tiny bit, that might.
Which have we click? I'll just keep
being
going.
stored to the permanent record.
Oh boy. Okay. I'm actually pretty Googleable now, so I'm used to it. So I've been working within media, mostly so-called new media, for 15 years. Actually, going on 16 years now. I was in the launch team at WashingtonPost.com back in '95. Worked for 6 years at AOL on a lot of user-contributed content type products. And even before that, I actually helped get the Denver Post. I didn't launch the site. They actually claim now that I launched it. I really didn't. I got it on the path to actually where it was possible for them to have a website, because they wanted to go up on eWorld. Anybody remember that? So that's what I'm most proud of, is convincing the Denver Post not to launch with eWorld, which then got shut down about 6 months after that. Most recently, before my Night News Challenge project, I worked at the Bakersfield Californian. You know a little bit about them. They're independently owned in Central California. I did it all from here in the Boulder area, in my basement office. And what we did there is really allowed them to expand their audience base by embracing user-contributed content, creating multiple niche products. That's kind of my background. And then most recently, I have FeedBrewer. Oh, I thought I had another slide here. Well, I guess I can talk. I'll probably run into it later. What I wanted to just mention quickly is printcasting, which is really what led up to what I'm going to talk about today, which is BookBrewer. And the idea behind printcasting, which was a Night News Challenge winner in 2008, was that anybody can be a publisher, and that they can be a local publisher, which meant having a local product that people could pick up on the street at bars and coffee shops and at racks. And it was an admittedly crazy idea to even attempt. And we got pretty far with it, but looking back, I can't really say that in that 2-year period that I would call it a successful product, but I believe that the ideas and what we learned from it are ultimately what we're now seeing realized with devices. And really, when we started printcasting, the whole idea was that anybody could make their nicely formatted PDF magazine, which actually would have even better layout than this, and make it look professional. And then we assumed that people would go and print those out and then go and sell ads, and we assumed a lot of things that people would do that once they realized what they had to do, it freaked them out, and then they saw they had to spend $500 at a Kinko's per edition they put out there. They didn't like that. And they started asking us, hey, this is great. I've now become a publisher. And I'm talking about, and it was actually a lot of what they were doing was real, you could call it journalism, but it was very niche focused. But their next question would be, so I don't really want to go print all these copies of this thing. Can I put this in Facebook? Can I put it in my blog? Can I, and then when the Kindle and the iPad started they came out and became more popular, they started asking us if they could get content there. So what I found interesting was that in a world of user-contributed content, when we democratized publishing, the citizen publishers instantly wanted to become multi-platform. So they within like a day, And I thought that was really telling. So that's when we started talking to the Knight Foundation about this in the midst of our grants and getting back to, kind of lessons learned. We wanted to do what eventually became BookBrewer, and they just weren't really ready to manage that process. Maybe they're better suited for that now. But I should mention that my for-profit company that came out of that project, the Knight Foundation, through the Dade Community Foundation, is a shareholder in everything we do. So we still have ties into the nonprofit world. So BookBrewer is really what came out of that, and it's basically an ebook creation and distribution service. So if you have content and documents, blogs, you have photos, eventually videos and audio, you go into this nice little content management system, very similar to a blogging tool. And then for one, we turn it into the right format for you, which is not easy right now, which is the EPUB format. And then if you want, you can pay us to distribute it to pretty much every device. So I've got here's all my devices. I created my company so I'd have an excuse to buy every device. So here's one of our books on the iPad, iBooks, and it always takes a while to respond. New Android tablets. It's really truly multi-platform, and people really like this. And of course the Kindle. So the basic idea is if you have content, you don't want to have to think about what you have to do to turn it into an ebook. So here's just high level how our tools work. You can copy and paste content from Word or from a web page. You can feed it in if you have an RSS feed. You can upload pictures. And it's really like a content curation system with an ebook as the final output. So here we're importing an RSS feed, and then you can see what your ebook would look like when it's finally then distributed.
Dan, quick question. Is it built in Drupal?
It is built on Drupal, yes.
It is. I recognize some of the. Does that mean there's a Drupal module that can?
Everything in in BookBrewer is Drupal based. It's all Drupal modules.
So there's a potential way to put in a module that will then create a.
Yes. Nobody's using that yet. I mean, but we have some plans for that. Well, if you have a website that's built on Drupal, in the future, in theory, it would be possible for you to use this technology to then empower ebook creation directly from your site.
Right. So Drupal is a PHP-based community system where people, when you build a module, you can then contribute back to the community. So it enables you to build functionality pretty easily out of the box. So this would enable people who have that kind of back-end system to basically use their current content management system as opposed to adopt a new content management system to publish the content.
So would you advise using Drupal in general? It's Drupal?
Well, put a pin in that, we'll talk about that later.
Yeah, and really independently of that, you can use BookBrewer now and also other BookBrewer branded services. So Borders actually, about 3 months before they went bankrupt, did a partnership with us. They're actually still using our system, and it's actually making money now, which is very interesting. So as soon as they went bankrupt, they started making money. How do you explain that?
You say
well, they're very focused on digital now, more than ever, right? But that, for that, it's basically another Drupal install, and it's just themed to look like Borders. And I can actually show you that site later. So, just putting BookBrewer aside a little bit, why should you care about ebooks, all right? It's more than just an excuse to get e-readers like me and devices. There has been this amazing growth in ebook sales over the last couple years, and it's just, this is actually, this is outdated information. If you follow this graph, probably by now we're looking at around, I'd say 160 to 170 million dollars per month that are being of ebook sales, and it's really this transition that's happening that is very similar to what we saw about 10 years ago with personal homepages. Everybody wanted to get a web page, right? There was this transition where instead of publishing magazines, right, or whatever, then people wanted to get web pages. We're seeing the same kind of growth with ebooks. So we sort of stumbled upon this with printcasting because we listened to our users. Our users were telling us that they wanted to be part of this, and we looked into it more, and we saw, okay, we know how to help them turn that content into ebooks. But some analysts who study the book industry say that by the end of 2012, this will be a $6 billion business just with ebooks alone. And in a news context, what I'd say for you is, yes, you can think about, okay, how can we get people to buy the current product we have in this medium, That's one way to go about it. But you could also say, people are buying content over here. How do we get our content into that channel? And I would argue that I think that's an easier way to make money, you know, because you're responding to demand. I really see ebooks now as being beyond just maybe we can do this kind of strategy to something we must do. I think every news organization, whether they're a nonprofit or for-profit, should be doing this. That was blocked. It's a paid content model that's working today. So, you know, I like to think, you know, you can now stop the theoretical discussions about how you may be able to raise money, you know, one day from digital content and just start doing it. And you could do that starting tomorrow. If you look at the kind of content that people are buying now that's available for free, because the next question people ask is, well, why would people buy this if it's available for free? Well, the reality is, I mean, you really should ask, why are people buying content that's available for free? Okay, I believe it comes down to convenience, being able to carry something around in the device of your choice, whether it's the iPad, you can, you know, on your iPhone or the device. I've got a hiking guide on here that I was going to bring up later, where I have every single hike in the area around Boulder in an ebook that a guy named Mark Scott Nash, friend of Sanders here, published. And it's great. And if I'm ever out there, I can search it and I can annotate it. So it's incredibly convenient. And you don't need to have an internet connection to use it. So if you're on a plane, you're just in a, you're in a downtown area where you've got bad signals, it's just something that people like. And I think they feel like it's this familiar sort of form, like they really start to use them like books, and they can personalize, they can put notes in. So there are a lot of different reasons people are attracted to e-readers and ebook apps.
So let me ask you a question.
Sure.
So basically, I think what you're saying is somebody like us, we have all this content, should we package it in a sense in a book?
Yes,
Ebook, make it available that way.
exactly.
With what frequency would be the next question? With every project you do, or you wait till you have 10 projects so it's more book length? And
Maybe, yeah.
It takes 10 minutes per title, so
And,
I'd say every day.
and then does the ebook you're creating, is it multimedia? Can you put video in the ebook? Can you put
Coming up, I'll show you examples of that. But right now, you can do it with iBooks, but with Apple iBooks, they make it kind of hard. But I think that will become a lot easier over time. Think of an ebook. Right now, we think of it as text and photos, right? Or in most cases, just text. But the EPUB format, which is now it's this open standard, kind of like HTML is an open standard for ebooks. What's great about that compared to, say, the Mobi Pocket format that Kindle uses? Everyone talks about Amazon Kindle like it's the greatest thing since sliced bread. Just beware, they're using a proprietary format. And they're now accepting an open format without talking about it, which is EPUB, and that's what everyone's using. The great thing about EPUB is that there's a standards body behind it, and it's constantly being, the spec is being enhanced. So Apple's been pushing that envelope, and it's now possible to embed videos into the EPUB. You can put audio in there, and you can put even PDFs inside of it. So beyond just books, I think this is the future standard for packaged multimedia content that does not require an internet connection. That's, I think, in general, the way I think of it now.
What does it take? What would it take to build this little portfolio of e-purpose distribution? It's another. I mean, what does it take to build this? You need staff?
That's my current slide.
Sorry.
Yeah, no, it's okay. It's like
You can bear $20 now.
there are a bunch of different ways that you can make ebooks now. So I've got at least 4 major ways that I see. You've got the direct to retailer model, which means you're taking a Word document or a PDF and you can just upload it to Amazon or upload it to Barnes & Noble, are the two biggest ones right now. And then they automatically just convert everything and you just trust them that they did the conversion right and then it's for sale. That's one way to do it, but you don't get a file back. I'll get into some of the downsides too. You can do it yourself, right, which is free. So direct to retailer is free, do it yourself is free. If you do it yourself, you can register for all these different services. The big ones are Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Borders, Apple, and now Google. And you can distribute them on your own. It takes a lot of work. There's self-service tools, which is what the business that BookBrewer is in. Usually pay some kind of fee there, or you pay higher percentage of royalties one way or another. and so you're paying for the convenience of it.